First up, people, summer haircut is in style. It's been really nice up here, a lot nicer than I'm used to, and it was just time for me to shed as much hair as I could without doing the crew cut thing. I'm not there yet. Second of all, movie review. I said I was going to go see a movie a week this summer, at least as long as there were movies worth seeing to go see, and I have kept that up for a third week in a row with Iron Man 3. This is the first mega blockbuster of the summer, and it has certainly been that to this point. It's been reviewed pretty well, it's been received pretty well, and it has made a lot of money. So what did I think of it? I saw it on Saturday, and first let me give a frame of reference. I thought the first Iron Man movie was excellent. I think it's pretty much the perfect summer movie, the perfect action movie. I think it is balanced perfectly, except maybe a little bit near the start, but you kind of have to set the stage for a movie like this. You have little action sequences here and there, and then you have three big ones. You know, with the first Iron Man, you had the first sequence where he's escaping the cave, the middle sequence where he goes back to destroy his missiles, and then the third sequence where he's fighting with Obadiah. And those three sequences are big, they're fun to watch, they're impressive, they're different from each other in very obvious ways. They give something new every time, and they're three of my favorite action sequences in any summer movie, and they all come together to form a very entertaining blockbuster movie, and everything else in the movie comes together in a way to hold your interest when there's not action on the screen. Obviously, in an action movie, it's not 95% action. In fact, it's probably more like 25% action, so you do need a little something to carry you through the rest of the scenes. And in this case, you have technology porn, you have a little bit of storyline, you have a little bit of internal conflict. I thought it came together beautifully. Iron Man 2, when I saw it in the theater, I thought it was fine, and then I saw it again on Netflix, and I thought it was crap. You know, the pacing was disastrous. There was basically 1.5 action sequences in that movie. The first was short, and it was over before you could really get into it. And then there was a second at the end that went on and on and on, was really long, wasn't that entertaining to watch, didn't introduce anything all that cool. And by the time it was over, I was like, okay, thank God that's over. So the whole movie was a mess. It tried way too hard to be funny. I would say it's probably my least favorite Marvel superhero movie to date of this era, of the post-Iron Man 1 era. I think it's a little worse than The Incredible Hulk. It's not a terrible movie, but I do think it's a bad movie. So, Iron Man 3, I had a little reason to be skeptical, but I did like a lot of the things they did. They brought in Shane Black, a new director, somebody who is one of the best action movie directors in Hollywood. They seemed to go for a more darker approach, and the trailers were stellar. The first Iron Man 3 trailer was absolutely stellar in particular, so I was very excited, and now I've gone. The movie's been out a week and a half. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but my thoughts are, it's not as good as the first Iron Man, and I don't think that's a fair comparison because it's very tough to beat the first one. But this is close. This is an excellent summer movie, and I think that if you look at how much money Iron Man 2 made, it would have been easy for the filmmakers to just go, let's just roll that out again, let's just give them the same crap because they're coming out to see it anyway. They're going to buy their ticket anyway. And they didn't do that. They actually went out of their way to make something a lot better. You have a much better internal conflict going on in this movie. Tony's going through some real problems, and they feel interesting, they feel meaningful, they tie into what happened in the Avengers, which is a fun movie. They tie into what happened in the previous two Iron Man films, and it combines into something that makes sense and is interesting and feels real and really gives some weight behind the storyline. The external conflict is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's anything different or special than what you see, but it gets the job done. I mean, you have to understand what you're watching here. You're watching an Iron Man movie, a superhero movie. But the main thing that really made this movie a lot better than the second Iron Man is the pacing of the action scenes. So, couple interesting things about this movie. The suits are, in some parts, especially the beginning and middle, the suits are kind of put in the background. This movie, the central question it asks is Tony Stark the superhero, or is the Iron Man suit the superhero? And the way this movie answers that question is by having Tony not have access to his suits for an extended period of time. There's an action sequence where Tony Stark actually has to storm an enemy compound without his suit. He had to invent a whole bunch of stuff at Home Depot and basically break in without using the suit. And I'm still not counting that as a spoiler, so if anybody watching this video just got pissed off, that's really not a spoiler. It doesn't give anything away. There's scenes where he needs his suit, but he doesn't have it, so he has to improvise and think of different ways he can get through the situation. And then there are situations where some of his creative ingenuity allows him to kind of have access to his suit, but only partially and not really, and he has to get by with just that, which to me was really welcome, because after the first two movies, the action scenes in Iron Man suits was starting to get a little dull. I mean, the first one if you're looking at the first movie, it had 3 scenes. One was a very rough Iron Man suit that was big and bulky and not really all that, not the suit that he really would eventually build. So that was interesting to watch. The third action scene, his suit was dying and he actually kind of had to run away, and he was fighting another iron suit, so that was fun. And by the second one, when you're watching that last action scene in Iron Man 2, you're like, okay, I've kind of seen all I need to see from these suits. Can I have something different? So this movie does that in 2 different ways. One, they take Tony out of the suit and make him do things on his own, which is interesting to watch because he gets back to his roots, which is to some extent what this movie's about. And 2, when the suits do show up at the end, and they do, and if you've seen any trailers or commercials, you probably know what I'm talking about. They change the way those scenes are shot. I mean, you know, they're in the suits, they're out of the suits, they're jumping in and out of the suits, they're jumping from one suit to another. Certain suits fight in different ways. Suits come apart and fight as individual pieces and then come back together. And it's something completely new and fresh. It's something we didn't see in previous Iron Man movies, and watching it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie again. And that is the main takeaway I have from this, because this is a summer action movie, and those are the most important elements of a summer action movie, the action set pieces. And I thought the action set pieces in this movie were excellent. They gave you something different, they gave you something new, a reason to watch and be amazed yet again, like I was when I watched the first Iron Man. And everything else is good enough. The external plot is fine. The internal struggles that Tony is having are good. Acting is good. And any complaints I can really levy against this Iron Man 3 movie are things that are nitpicking and don't matter. There's something that happens at the end that I think kind of looks stupid. But who cares? It's a short segment and it looks kind of dumb. But that doesn't make the movie worse, really. It doesn't matter at all. So, the first mega blockbuster of the summer has passed. I've seen it now. If you haven't seen it yet and you're into this kind of thing, absolutely go see it. And my score 1 to 100 would be, I'm going to have to give this one a 89 out of 100. There are a few little hiccups, but it's all nitpicking, and I think it's an excellent summer film. My next review, next week, will be Star Trek Into Darkness. See you then.